Hello and welcome back to the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Ferguson, writer for UCLA on SI. Today we're going to be taking a look at UCLA's huge win over USC, breaking down everything that happened, as well as kind of reviewing some of my game predictions, before tip-off. But before we get started, I want to thank everyone right now who's listening, Apple Music, Spotify, or even YouTube. It all means a lot to me, and I cannot thank you enough. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So just to kind of set the stage, last game of the season for the Bruins. They're coming off of a huge 20-point victory over Nebraska. Momentum's on UCLA's hip right now. I think they're projected right now as a 9 seed following a win like this. And you know how other teams have performed before the season's end. I think the Bruins could move up a little bit more. We're talking about that 6 to 7 seed. Either way, I think UCLA is playing their best basketball of the season. They're getting hot at the right time, and I truly believe they can make a deep run in the tournament if, a few shots go their way. But when I was watching this game and kind of breaking it down, it really looked like UCLA was able to find, consistency that wasn't there. For example, I believe UCLA's starters, they had a great game. Donovan Dent, 25 points. Eric Daly Jr., 19. Bilodeau, 16. Trent Perry and Sky Clark had a little bit of an off night. But again, looking at this UCLA team, there's always going to be someone to kind of pick or fill up the gaps that they've left. When we kind of look at the bench, and you kind of see that, Brandon Williams, 6 points. Eric Frenny, 10 points. We'll get into him a little bit later. He was one of my predictions that I made. But overall, I thought the Bruins played well. Defensively, they also played good. They held USC to 68 points. A lot of those buckets were made in garbage time. I think if the Bruins were to, play a full game out against a better team, I think, obviously they'd score a little bit less points, but I think they'd also hold the other teams less points. USC on the night had 6 turnovers compared to UCLA's. Both teams played pretty disciplined, but I thought UCLA was a little bit more aggressive. They were definitely a lot more deflections on both sides of the court. Offensively, they were a little loose with the ball, in my opinion, but still they were able to do the same thing for the Trojans. The Bruins only scored 9 points off of turnovers. That's something I did want them to do. And I thought, they could have done a little bit better, but, you can't complain with 9 points off 6 turnovers. That is a fair rate for the Bruins, at this point in the season, especially with, tournament season starting here in like a few weeks or a week or two. So it's going to be a great this is a great win for the Bruins, and overall, I'm excited. But right now, I'm going to go over some of the predictions I made in my 3 bold prediction article. The first one was UCLA wins by 40. Obviously, missed the mark a little bit, but I knew UCLA was going to be able to blow this game up. They beat them worse than they did, or beat them better than they did, just like a week ago or two. It was a great game for the Bruins. I thought they could have done this. Obviously, they didn't, but still, there were a lot of things that could have went the Bruins' way that didn't. But overall, I think, after a few more better passes, things like that, the Bruins did shoot 58% from the field, so maybe it's a matter of getting the shots up and finding their stride fast, going on those deeper runs, stuff like that. I think UCLA would have been fine. USC, while they did lose by a lot, overall, they were able to keep up with the Bruins. Obviously, it's hard to do that when you're down 15, but it seemed like they were trading shots there for a while. But overall, not a bad game. I also predicted that Eric Frenny would dominate. I said he would get around a 20-point mark. And again, these are hot takes, but there is a little bit of truth to them. After watching the Nebraska game, Frenny had a great game. I thought he was finding good space. His shot was looking better, and he was playing with more intensity. And we kind of saw that in the first USC game when he kind of got into it with Chad Baker-Mazzaria. But in this game, like I said, he had 10 points, went 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line, had 5 rebounds, and just two turnovers in 17 minutes of play. Again, not a bad game for Frenny. This is definitely a step in the right direction, especially with the tournament coming closer and closer. You're going to want to have that, trustworthy 6th man who you can rely on to really push the needle for the Bruins in some of these tougher matchups. The final prediction that I had was UCLA records 40 rebounds per game. Now, obviously, this is, a normal for most teams, but for UCLA, they're only averaging 32 rebounds per game. I believe against Minnesota, they went a little bit under that. But they were still out rebounding teams. That's the bottom line. I knew that the Bruins would kind of come out here rebounding wise, wouldn't be that close. And I thought they did so. UCLA had 37 to USC's 26. I was a little close, a little off, but a few more things went their way. I think it could have been done. I knew that Eric Daly Jr. and Tyler Bilodeau would need to have big nights rebounding. They both had 8 apiece. I wanted to see a little bit more from, Xavier Booker. He only played 8 minutes, so it's kind of hard to kind of evaluate that much. Trent Perry only had 3. Donovan Dent had 2. But again, I'm going to circle back to Frenny, his 5 rebounds. That's the exact performance I wanted from the bench to make this possible. And he did so, and I thought UCLA looked a lot sharper in this game, and they were able to control the tempo a lot better because, more rebounds, that's going to happen. But overall, I loved how UCLA played on the glass. They were aggressive. They didn't let, USC dominate in one margin or the other. UCLA had 11 offensive rebounds to USC's 7. Defensively, UCLA had 26 to USC's 19. So they kept it close, and that's all I wanted. Against some of these bigger teams that are known for the rebounding, I believe UCLA is like bottom 50 in the country in rebounding. So again, this is a great step in the right direction for the Bruins. And I'm excited about that heading into the tournament. But now I'm going to kind of break down each player's performances, kind of go over like what I saw, what I didn't see, things like that. Starting off, Trent Perry, not the best game. There's always going to be a little bit of fluctuation with UCLA's guard room. It simply wasn't his night, but we know what he's capable of. Am I scared? No. I say this every time one of the UCLA starters have an off game, because it's never a theme. It's just a matter of it's someone else's night, and I thought, it was someone else's night. I wanted to see a little bit more rebounds. 4 assists, you can't really complain with that. But still, I know Perry is a better scorer. 0 of 3 from the three-point line. That is kind of a hard figure to stomach. But overall, not a terrible game for Perry. 0 turnovers on the night. Yeah, you really can't say anything too bad about it. We know he'll do better. But overall, okay game. Not the best, not the worst, just okay. Up next, Donovan Dent. And it really looks like Donovan Dent has a vendetta against USC in the game earlier this season. He was able to drop, 30 points. I think he also had 8 or 7 assists in that one. So he obviously has found his stride against USC, which is surprising. I thought, maybe he'd go above this, but still, Dent is starting to find his rhythm again. He kind of was a little bit absent, in the few games leading up to this one. I believe in Minnesota, he only had 3. So again, Dent is kind of picking up his rhythm, and when he plays good, UCLA plays good. Obviously, that's not like the rule of thumb for the Bruins. Obviously, he kind of did struggle against Nebraska, but that's where everyone else kind of picked up the slack. But again, I think when Dent plays well, UCLA is able to win more clean and more frequently, and that's something I hope he holds on to, when the tournament starts. Up next, Eric Daly Jr., 19 points. 8 rebounds. He had 3 fouls in this one, 2 steals. Not a bad game from Eric Daly, to say the least. I thought this was one of his most complete performances of the season. 19 points, 8 rebounds. I believe he had an 18-point second half. So to kind of show him, kind of be more consistent or, more half heavy is kind of important. I thought when UCLA was able to take control in the first half, that kind of opened the door for Daly to come in the second half and kind of be that closer. Dent also had 19 points. The Bruins only had, 5 scorers in that second half. Eric Frenny, Brandon Williams, Trent Perry, and then both Daly and Dent. So it's nice to see that, when UCLA starters want to, they can take over a half at any point. Am I ecstatic about this idea? Not really. I want to see more consistent scoring across the board. And I don't think we really saw that tonight. But what we did see is Eric Daly kind of, again, picking up that momentum. I'd rather, a huge half come in the second half rather than the first, just because, you're coming off of a good half. You're probably going to do better in the next half. If there's a half in between that, it gets a little tricky to kind of find that momentum again. But still, great game by Eric Daly Jr. Happy that I was able to watch him perform at this level. Up next, Tyler Bilodeau. Kind of, similar to the other two. He kind of had one good half and then kind of took the night off. He did that in the first half. In the first half, he had all 16 of his points. He shot 7 of 10. Went 2 of 2 from the 3-point line. Had 6 rebounds. Again, that's just Tyler Bilodeau for you. He's a great scorer. He's going to score. He was pretty much the only reason UCLA was able to really, find, their footing in the first half. USC had 30 points. For a minute there, USC was in the lead. And I thought that's where, Tyler Bilodeau was able to come in and score a few quick baskets to really take the lead and, push the needle even further. Just a good game by Bilodeau. No real complaints overall. But yeah, Sky Clark, 2 points, 0 of 5 from the field, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Not the best game. Am I a little worried about this performance? Yeah, because it's starting to, become a theme in kind of some sense. I want to see him get more volume. He really didn't get that. Only 5 shots in the night. He played 34 minutes. So again, when you kind of look at that, you're like, what's going on with, Sky Clark? And again, it kind of has been a theme as of late. He didn't really play that good against Nebraska. And he also struggled against USC in the first meeting. I don't know if it's just a USC game, but right now he is struggling. He did well against Minnesota. He had 17 points in that game. But overall, I want to see him, take the leap. I know before his injury, I really did think he could have been UCLA's best player, most impactful, best scorer, whatever you want to put him. I believe at that point he was UCLA's second scorer overall. And now I feel like he has dropped considerably in that statistic. Right now he is, I believe, 4th on the team. We have Bilodeau at 1, Donovan Dent at 2, Trent Perry at 3, and then Sky Clark at 4 with 12.4 points per game. Was it expected? I felt like, yeah, as well as how well Trent Perry's played, it's going to be harder for Sky Clark to, find those shots that he had before. But when he came back from injury, I thought that was going to be switched. I thought it would be Trent Perry kind of struggling to find his footing. But no, it looks like it has been Sky Clark. I feel like, Clark is probably going to do better in the tournament. I feel like when the stakes are high, that's when Clark really comes out to play. And again, it's just a waiting game for now. So yeah, that's all I have today. UCLA is going to get ready to play in the tournament. And kind of, building up to that, we'll kind of discuss the things that UCLA needs to get done in their next matchup. But yeah, that's all I have today. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Ferguson. And as always, fours up and have a good day.